this podcast will fail. Mostly because nobody's gonna listen to it, though a few of you appear to be proving me wrong. So who knows? Episode 51. Hello. How are ya? Who am I? Well, I'm nobody. I'm just some guy. Who I am is completely irrelevant to the conversations that I come here to have with you and with myself. So, all this month, I am trying to pick your brain, and I am asking questions and hoping to get your feedback. So, my question this week goes a little bit deeper. I want to know what you believe. And obviously, that statement can come with immediate connotations around religion and faith. And I'm certainly interested in hearing those things. I'm curious to see who out there that I interact with, however anonymously these interactions are, who you are and where you come from and what you think and what you believe. But certainly, it can be a broader question too. So I want to know your beliefs about the world and about people and about just about anything, right? I really want to just see what when I ask the question, "What do you believe?" What are the top of mind answers that come to you? So I've also been polling my personal Facebook community, my own friends out there online that have no idea that I'm doing this podcast. I don't promote this podcast. I haven't put it out there. But asking them these questions and getting some really good answers back. So I want to talk through some of the responses I've gotten to this week's question, as well as answer a little bit more of my own perspective on these things. And certainly, again, would love to hear from you. There should be a link in the description below for you to leave me a voicemail. So I encourage you to click that and just say hello and give me your thoughts and maybe answer my question. What do you believe? So before I get into responses from some of my friends here, I shall go a little deeper into my own story and situation here. I spent, I think, too much time yesterday when I was laying this out talking about my childhood experience in the Catholic Church. And I didn't want to have that dominate this conversation. That's not really what I wanted to focus on all week long. I just thought it was necessary to kind of establish a baseline of where I came from in that scope of belief. I did spend a couple years during high school, as I think most kids do these days. A lot of kids do. I know that several of my own kids have wandered around the idea of atheism and believing that there is no God, there is no nothing. I don't discourage it. I don't encourage it. We've never gone down those paths at all with our kids. We've had different pieces. We've always explained where our beliefs around faith and all of those go. My wife, as much as I grew up in a Catholic church, my wife grew up in the Mormon church and had, I think, very similar experiences to me and came to very similar conclusions on her way out and into high school and into the real world. I think she landed pretty much in the same place that I did, which is why the two of us worked out so well. One of the reasons, anyways. So we've always explained what some of the positives are, but ultimately what we believe to be the negatives about those two individual churches that we grew up in. I will say that my older daughter, she's 15 now, she is the only one that ever showed any interest in any kind of contact with religions, and those were really just through her friends at school. There was a handful of different friends of hers that invited her for sleepovers on a Saturday night, and is it okay if I go to church with them on Sunday? And we never discouraged it. We always just wanted her to keep an open mind and realize that what she's hearing when she goes into those places of worship are not 100% true, right? And that they're open to people to interpret and to make their own decisions about what they're being told. We essentially encourage her to think for herself. And this is actually the same girl who was a guest on the podcast last season. I had her on for an episode, and she got some good feedback from her appearance as well. So other than that, it's, that's about the extent of actual organized religious affiliations, and that's about as far as we go. And I really do want to get off the topic of religion, because belief, there's so much more to it. It's not just about going to a building and congregating with people and worshiping a particular deity in any way, shape, or form. I've got lots of my own opinions about those things. I got to move on. We got to move on. We got to get to other things, because there's so much more that you can talk about when you talk about belief. I've got a long list of things that I believe, and it's almost a little tough to compartmentalize them and communicate them to you in a useful way that makes any sense and would interest you in actually hearing. I'm very interested in aspects of humanism. I will say that I have, for a very, very long time, gone ahead and conveniently used the label agnostic for myself. It's the easiest one. It's the path of least resistance in trying to, apply some kind of label. And not everybody needs to apply a label, but I think as human beings, it's a natural inclination that we want to name things, right? Humans are the only, so far, oh boy, talk about belief, the only sentient forms of life that we know of. Human beings are the only truly cognizant, self-aware living creatures that we know of at the moment. And I'm not going to get into aliens. I'm not going to go there this week. I don't know. Maybe next week. Who knows? I might have to keep this topic going longer than a week, because I already missed out on Monday, and I'm already thinking about, wow, this is a bigger question than I thought it would be. But let's stick with outside the realm of religious and into the world of humanism, agnosticism. I got some really keen insights, actually from a podcast. I want to, I'm going to take a moment and promote another podcast while I'm at it here. So one of the very, very few people that know that this podcast even exists is a friend of mine named Caleb. He is a coworker of mine, and I've talked about him numerous times over the course of this program. Well, he's now up and running with his podcast. It is called Caleb versus Self, and it is fascinating, and it is engaging, and it's deep thinking, man. It's putting the time and effort into exploring the human condition, and the first couple of episodes are him interviewing his brothers that he grew up with, and the one that was published yesterday really dug into aspects of organized religion within their family, religiosity, but then into broader questions of, self-fulfillment and what role belief systems play versus, what are you really getting at here? Why do we live? Why are we here? Why do we strive to achieve? So I'm not done listening to that yet. I think there's another, he chunked it out into like 4 episodes. So I'm on the 3rd one that I'm going to listen to on my way home from work today. I think it's worth a moment of your time to take a peek, and you'll understand why Caleb and I have become such good friends, even just within the scope of our workplace. There's a lot of interesting stuff there. So I guess I found out through that podcast that some people have different definitions of things. Even though we may use the same words, we approach things slightly differently. So his guest, his brother, Caleb's brother yesterday, was using the word agnostic in a way that doesn't quite completely jibe with my own personal belief and definition of that word agnostic. I think perhaps I oversimplify it a little bit. I look at it, and this is what I've tried to explain to my children. To me, agnostic basically means that I don't know. And that is the one thing that did align with what this young man, Chad, I think is his name, was saying. I don't actually know, right? And I'm not arrogant enough to assume that I do know just because I've been provided with opinions and accounts and supposed data supplied by others about their beliefs. That doesn't lead me to say anybody actually knows what exists and what does not. So in that religious, non-secular context, agnosticism to me means that I'm not saying whether or not there is a God. It's not for me to say. It's not for anybody to say. It is, I believe, a very personal choice, right? It's an evaluation that every person needs to make for themselves and determine how they want to act or not act on the information that they see. For me, I keep it simple. I don't know whether or not there is some higher power, some all-seeing being, whether or not there is some intelligent, benevolent influence over life and existence. I don't know. I'm sorry, but I'm missing a lot of data sets in order to provide a clear answer on that. But does that mean that I say that there is nothing because there's an absence of evidence? No, there very well could be. And there sure are a whole hell of a lot of things in this world that don't add up, that do not fit within the confines of currently understood science, right? Science can't answer everything, and at least not for me personally. There are too many universal convergences for me to go ahead and put my foot down and put my fist down on the table and say, no, there is nothing out there. There could be. There could very well be. There might be something. Okay, so part one is I'm not here to say whether or not any of that exists. I'm not here to say that it doesn't. What I'm here to say is that none of that has any bearing whatsoever on how I conduct myself in the world among other people, among my family, among my peers, among my coworkers, and my friends. None of that belief or non-belief, existence of a God or not, it's that I don't need any of that to inform how I behave and how I treat people and how I live my life. I figure it's probably just a good idea to go ahead and be a good person, right? Because if I'm following my careful little definition of this agnostic belief, there might be something there. And there could be a reason for me to want to put forward my best foot, right? Put my best face forward. What is there to lose? Because you can see how being a shit person in life generally leads to an unhappy life. That has nothing to do with faith or belief. It's a fact. And humans respond positively to other positive humans, and they respond negatively to negative humans. So I guess it's easier for me to just go ahead and be a positive human. That's not to say that there's not negative aspects of my personality. There are. And a very solid chunk of my young life was spent actively being not so good of a person, right? I've got something of a storied past, as most people do. Deep down inside, everybody's got their own little inner quote-unquote demons. Everybody's got their own things that they have to contend with. I certainly do. And I'm not immune to the idea once in a while of indulging in those negative thoughts and thinking, yeah, you know what? Maybe I don't give a shit about people. And that's just being human, I guess, right? That's part of that animal nature, the fact that we are mammals, the fact that we, eat food and birth live children and grow old and die. We're animals. We're humans. Yes, we're aware. Yes, we are cognizant. Okay, we're sentient. Great. But that doesn't mean we're not animals. And again, the presence of a religion or a lack of religion does not inform how I use that information and how I act on those beliefs and purposes. So I'll stop there on that, because I do want to get a couple of the answers in from my friends here on Facebook. And again, I have some really good ones, and I'm going to read a bunch of these here that really fit into that humanist kind of thing. Now, I will say there's a couple jokers in the group, and I love them. My brother-in-law, my wife's little brother, gave me a meme from The Big Lebowski. I've never actually watched that movie, but it says, "We believes in nothing, Lebowski." Okay, I get you. A little atheism there, buddy. I'm with you. That's cool. That's fine. I don't take away. Don't worry. My brother gave me an interesting one, my oldest brother, and he said, he started out by saying, "I believe that I will have more coffee." But no, seriously. He says, he gives me a meme that says, "Dreams save us. Dreams lift us up and transform us. And on my soul I swear, until my dream of a world where dignity, honor, and justice becomes the reality that we all share, I will never stop fighting, ever." That is a quote from Superman. That is a quote from Action Comics number 775 in the year 2000, I guess. That's really small print. I can't quite read it. As a quote from Superman. And I think that there's some validity to that. There's kind of a manifest the world that you want to live in. I think that aligns with what I said a minute ago. That the person you choose to be dictates the experience that you're going to have among other humans. Again, a friend from my YouTube days here. She was a fan of my work, and then a friend of mine. And she says, and I know that she's more of a religious person as well. I believe she and her family are actually still in the Mormon church. And she says, "I believe there's always more good in the world than bad, because good always wins." And I like that. That's that positive mindset, right? Again, another friend, another guy, he commented on the previous question. He says I believe in being a good person over an organized religion. So actually, yeah, he and I are spot on, brother. Right on, aligned with each other. But again, into more of that kind of metaphysical thing, another friend, she says, she's a candle maker. She's very talented. She says, "I believe we create our own worlds within our minds." And a former employee of mine commented on that and says, "I was about to say the same thing similar to this, that we are in charge of our own feelings and our own destiny." So there's a lot of that humanism that's the thread that's running through a lot of this stuff. Again, a current employee, someone I work with now, says, "I believe in a love that lasts forever." And I can't help but hear that in Huey Lewis's voice. "Do the love a thing of love and last forever." Right? That's what I heard when I read that. So thank you. Okay. So I think that's, and again, that's a good place for today. That's a good stopping place for now. Is that kind of better understanding for myself of how my agnosticism relates to the rest of the world. Thank you to Caleb and Caleb versus Self for giving me that. As well as kind of hearing from my friends and my contemporaries here about their kind of humanistic views and sort of a manifest your own destiny and create the world that you want to live in. So I would love to hear from you. I encourage you to click the link below, leave me a voicemail, give me your thoughts on this topic or any other topic for that matter, and we'll see if anybody chimes in. So that'll do for today. We'll stop there. We'll come back tomorrow. We'll pick up this thread again, and we'll move into some more of the outside of the box kind of stuff around beliefs and see what kind of conversation we can have there. So if you took the time to listen to this today, thank you. I am sincerely appreciative of your investment of time into my little endeavor. All right, thanks again, and wherever you are, I hope you have a good one.